Hello everybody, Planet Walls here. We're about to get ready for the fourth round of the Classic League season something, 2013 Winter Christmas Qualifier, Hanukkah, whatever. I am playing against Master J, an opponent I'm looking forward to playing against. He frequently comments on fun things like flavor fails, like casting a Swords to Plowshares on an Orcish Lumberjack, who is already kind of a farmer. And anyway, so he is playing a Bant Delver variation, which is actually quite different from a lot of fish-style decks. So I'm going to break it down into counter magic, removal, and then its creature package. So we have counter magic in the form of Daze, Mental Missteps, and Forces, all of which are pretty good against me, I would say. And I have to watch out for Daze, certainly. The Missteps are good against all my one-drops. And remember, we are playing a Magus of the Moon and Fauna Shaman style Orcish Lumberjack ramp deck. And so all of these are feasible against me. Fortunately, we have Summoning Traps, and I will pop up a shot of my deck in a minute. He's also got these 4 Jaces, which can deal with me, so we need to figure out a way to answer those. His creature base, then, we'll talk about his removal first. 4 swords, and Kasali Pride Mages in a manner of speaking, but they shouldn't affect me. So swords and Jaces are his ways of getting things off the board once they're on. He's got Snapcaster, which is a flash creature, which also doubles as another Swords to Plowshares, piece of counter magic, or piece of card draw and selection, including these over here. These probably make his deck pretty consistent. They also set him up for an effective Delver. So his creature base is 2 Kataki, which I don't really care about. 3 Trigon, which don't do anything particularly horrible against me, except they're kind of fat and they float in the air. And then Kasali Pride Mages, which are pretty good against me because they're just awesome in this format, though he doesn't really have any enchantments to kill in my deck. And then Snapcasters, as I mentioned, and these guys. So if he gets off to a fast start with a Delver, it'll be hard for me to race. Over in the land zone, he's got a Strip Mine and a Wasteland, but otherwise we're looking at a lot of basics, 5, a number of fetch lands, and then only a few duels. This means that Magus of the Moon will be hit or miss against him. If he has a couple of these lands, it'll be a hit. If he doesn't, it's a miss. So one of the things that's important is that Magus, even if he has a basic island out, makes Snapcaster hard to get value from, and it makes Jace hard to play, so even if he has that island. So that's something worth considering. Also, it's a lot harder to have 2-color creatures that you're playing with Magus of the Moon out, given his mana base. So that's something I can focus on opportunistically. In the sideboard, let's look at what he has. These Pithing Needles can be used to name Fauna Shaman, for instance. That's something I should worry about. Meddling Mage is a possibility he could bring in. Pyroclasms are super scary. So he's got 1 Volcanic Island, and Magus of the Moon turns this on. I just made it go away. But there's a second Pyroclasm here. The Ghost Quarter could come in. Probably wouldn't. And I'm imagining what he'll be boarding out will be the 2 Katakis, probably for Meddling Mages. Maybe a Pride Mage or a Trigon Predator. He might go down to like 1 Trigon Predator or 2. But it does survive Pyroclasm, so I'm sure he's thinking about that. And we'll have to see how this goes. So I'm not sure exactly what his sideboard plan is going to be. I will load up my deck real quick. So just so you guys can see it, pardon the nasty word there. That was the name of a deck that we briefly were considering playing. Let's see, where is the one? Here it is. Alright, this is the one we're playing. It unfortunately is not the survival-based deck, which I feel is much better. But you can watch that in the previous videos that I posted for playing the Unplayable, which I took to 3-1 in a DE. Spoiler alert, but it's worth watching. The 3rd and 4th rounds are pretty cool. And the 2nd round, too, is actually pretty good. There's just some commentary in the background the 1st and 2nd rounds that might bore you. But anyway, that's just me sounding off about a different set of videos. And here is our set. We have some things we can punish Master J with. We also have these cool cards in the sideboard. But overall, we're a little nervous. So hopefully this guy will bring the sky asunder in games 2 or 3. All right, I'll see you guys in the matches. Hello, everybody. Planet Walls here. We are back. It is a day later because I had a scheduling conflict, so Master J was kind enough to wait until the next day. I will be playing first. I also happen to have a beer before this one. Just letting you know. Not that there's only a single Stella, but I do have an incredibly small frame and a fast metabolism. So hopefully right as I'm losing, I will be I don't know, sobering up. Anyway, my opponent is playing virtually a, like, blue, splash green, and white fish deck, as I mentioned before. I really have to think whether I want to keep this hand. Thunderscape Battlemage is pretty crappy against him, but Mana Crypt is really good all the time. And I can pitch Thunderscape Battlemage to this guy. And I can also just play a Magus. And I only have one land in this hand. All of these are serious questions, the answers to which I'm unsure. So, what could my opponent do? My opponent could counter something with a Force of Will. He can't daze since I'm on the play. I think it might be worth keeping this hand and dropping, actually, a Deathrite Shaman. Because he has so many... Actually, you know what? Maybe we would just go right into the Magus and we'd hope to draw a Forest. Alright, so I'm going to keep this. We're going to see what happens. This is kind of a risky hand. I can probably... if he's mana screwed, I can probably just, like, go in there right with a Magus. But I think this will earn a Force of Will. That's what I think. And, like, the question is just whether I want to play one of these other guys first. That's a possibility. Because Deathrite wouldn't be bad to have out. But it won't be that exciting if I play Magus, because no lands will end up in the graveyard. Okay, he kept. So I'm actually going to lead off with a Mana Crypt, because I'm going to be playing something with it this turn. And he's pretty clearly thinking about a Force of Will right now, which means I should definitely play the Magus right now, because if it eats a Force of Will, that's totally okay with me. Takes a blue card. It allows me to play a Deathrite next turn or a Fauna Shaman. Maybe he's sitting on one basic? Not sure. I know that this Mana Crypt deals 1.5 to me on average each turn, and Magus deals 2 to him. My guess is he must have a single basic in his hand. Maybe a white one and a Swords. That would definitely give him a way out. Oh, he has a basic Island, but no. Noticeably Ponder. Oh, never mind. It came after combat. Okay, that's pretty good for him. Let's see if he shuffles. We hope he does, because it means he didn't find what he wanted. I take it he's going to shuffle unless he finds a basic. Note that I'm in some serious trouble if I can't find a basic pretty soon, or just more lands in general. That's our deck. What can he play with blue? He can play a Snapcaster. That's about it. Everything else is impossible to find. So I'm hoping this Magus takes us all the way, and hopefully that we draw a basic along the way. He's got 4 basics left in his deck, but some card draw. I have 4 basics left in my deck. So I made an extremely risky play dropping this. He did choose to shuffle. That's good. That means he didn't find what he wanted. And we just hope we win more than we lose, and so far so good. And we hope we draw some kind of land here, but I would prefer a basic, obviously. And if he kills this, then I can play something else. And we just ripped a basic, so we are Luxax, and Master J, I'm sorry for what just happened. I think he's going to have a mental misstep, so I'm not going to play the Deathrite Shaman this turn. I kind of want to find some black for this, though. You know what? That's the wrong play. We have to drop the Fauna Shaman. There's no way that any other play is right. And if he wants to force this, that's fine. He didn't. My guess is he doesn't have force, because I think he would have forced the Magus or the Mana Crypt. And now we can pitch Thunderscape, which is otherwise not very good, or the Deathrite, which I probably won't pitch, to find something else. And what will we want to pitch to find? Probably a Birds of Paradise first. This is his deck, not ours. And once we find a Birds or a Squee, maybe. I don't think we're playing Squee. Isn't it funny how I say things like that? We can cast more stuff. So this Delver, I guess it could race me with this Mana Crypt, but I think we'll be okay. I can always Seeds of Innocence my own Mana Crypt if I find another green. It's good that this is a mountain. He doesn't have Pyroclasm the main. He will board it in, though, which is worth noting. I may want to board out a couple of my Magi the Moon, lest I run into a serious Fauna Shaman issue. I'm sorry, Pyroclasm issue. Okay, we lost that one. That's fine. We drew essentially what's a mountain. And so, like, the question is, what do I want to search for here? Or would I rather just play a Deathrite and attack? Deathrite is not very good right now. But I'm not sure how good Fauna Shaman is. Like, we could load up our deck, and I will do that, so we can just have a look. Again, pardon the name of that one deck. It's pretty rude to Christopher, my good friend. What would we find? We find a Bloom Tender. That adds a lot of cool mana to our mana pool. Then we can Thunderscape Battle Mage him. That's so slow. Colonian Hydra is insane, and that's probably what we'd want to look for. So let's plan on doing that. That means I attack with Magus, and then we search. Alright. And so if this resolves, it ends the game very quickly. Wait, we can't even cast it. We have to cast something for red, so we could find a Caldera Hellion or Scavenging Ooze. That's also okay. Or we just find the birds. That might actually be the right play. Let's do that. Or the Bloom Tender. Bloom Tender might be better because it can't be misstepped. Let's hope this doesn't flip. That definitely makes the clock worrisome. Oh, it flipped. But that's a Plowshares he can't play. Unless he plays a Plains this turn. But we keep... Yeah, it's just a mountain. Okay. If we play a Birds, too, it can block that dude eventually, which is good. But I think we find a Bloom Tender. And this Thunderscape sucks, I'm pretty sure. Unless we Bloom Tend, make him discard 2. That's probably not very good. So what do we want to find here? We can find a Flame Tongue. That's actually pretty solid. It might get forced, though. I kind of like that play, actually. Yeah, let's do that. That seems really good right now. If he counters it, so be it. So let's not lose this flip. We lost the flip. We drew another Magus. That's not stellar. Now we play this, see what happens. And it resolved. That's great news. And I think then we probably... It's probably better to attack with a Magus. I don't want to give whatever mental misstep he has in his hand value, but I think... Yeah, I'm going to pitch something to the Fauna Shaman, find something else. Because I don't want him to just misstep tapping its blue for the Deathrite Shaman. I feel pretty good about the Flame Tongue play. If he had his Pyroclasms in his deck, which he has in the sideboard, I think this would be a very different game. He would have something to search for that could ruin my day. But fortunately, that isn't happening right now. I probably will not be as aggressively looking for a Magus of the Moon in Game 2. I'm actually going to pitch the Magus here. What do we want to find? I could cast a Rurikthar potentially. And so I think I'm just going to look for probably Bloom Tender. I think that's the way to go. Bloom Tender is a pretty crappy card in most circumstances. In case you didn't know. But it sets me up to be able to cast pretty much anything. We lost another flip. That's bad. So I guess we could have found Rurikthar there, but who cares? I'm going to attack with all these guys and plan on playing the Bloom Tender. Okay, so he's at 6. That's good. We cast this Cavern, play this Cavern rather, and we're going to name, I think, Elf, but it probably won't matter. So then we drop Bloomy. Pass the turn. This sets us up to be able to do anything we want next turn. We can even play the Deathrite first, and this adds black to our pool too. So we could go to 5 this turn, but I don't think he's capable of dealing that much damage to us. I can load up his deck. Sorry I'm so loud today. Oh, he just conceded the game while we were looking at his deck. Okay. And he GG'd us, which is very polite of him, and I will GG back. So, what he's going to do, and I think it's probably worth bringing this up, we go to his Bant Delver, and we look at his sideboard. This is a possibility. Needles are a possibility. These are a possibility. Pyroclasms are a possibility. Now we look up here and we ask what comes out. It'll be these. Dazes, maybe. I don't know that for sure. Maybe a Jace just because it's a little slow. And maybe a Pride Mage, but I think it's good enough in combat that he keeps it in. And so I imagine something like this comes out. Pyroclasm comes in almost certainly. And probably a Med Mage. I don't know what else he would board out. Maybe the Jace stays in. Pithing Needles aren't that extraordinary for us. I mean, they can name Thrun. They can name, I don't know, Scavenging Ooze. It's not that good, though. I'm boarding out all of my artifact removal. None of these cards are very strong. So let's cut them. Probably don't need 2 Kazuls. Maybe Molder Slug is good enough, though. This guy stays in. We definitely bring in Mistcutter and Arashi. This is Arashi's time to shine. And these 3 cards extraordinarily get in. We probably want to bring in Caldera Hellions, Stormbreaths, and maybe the Conscripts. This can, target a Jace, but it's a tough question. I'm going to bring all these in. I'm going to cut a Bloom Tender because I think they suck. Thunderscape Battle Mage is also pretty bad. This is super expensive. But I think Molder Slug is one of the cards to go. And now I have to wonder about Conscripts. This guy probably stays in just because naming a dragon with Cavern or keeping him from countering it is extraordinary. I don't know about the rest of these cards, though. Colonian Hydra is mediocre. Magus is even potentially mediocre. I think I'm going to cut a Kazul, though, because it's just not the best card I could have. He has a lot of flyers. It's not very strong. In fact, Molder Slug might even be better than Kazul. It's possible that's not the case, though. Let's stick with the Kazul, the one of. All right, and so we have a potential turn 2 Colonian Hydra, but with no counter punishment, as in we have no Summoning Trap, and we have no Cavern of Souls. But I'm on the draw, so I could draw one of those cards. There are 4 in the deck. I will probably lead off with a Lumberjack with a Mountain. If he counters it, that's okay, because Deathrite has a lot of value in this matchup. And I would rather, I think, the Deathrite resolve. And I think this hand is just strong enough, even though Colonian Hydra is just good against him. Because it's a fat guy, and his deck isn't loaded with fat guys, and it can survive a Pyroclasm. So I think the trick is to land something like this. Stomping Ground is so bad in this matchup. I think what we do here is we eat this counterspell. And there's going to be a mental misstep that happens. And I'm okay with that, because I would rather this resolve into the long game in this matchup. If he's waiting this long, it probably means he's either considering dazing this, or he's considering forcing it. If he has mental misstep, it seems pretty obvious to pitch the misstep to this. But if he has Force of Will, he really has to wonder whether or not this is worth countering. Alternatively, he might just be concerned because I don't have a forest in play, but I obviously have a ton of forest in my hand. So my suspicion is we're talking about daze here, because it definitely punishes him to have to find an island of some kind and bring it back to his hand. That is my guess is the decision. I also think he is recording on his end. So that could explain the additional time and thought. I don't want to conclude anything. I'm wearing a nice shirt right now. I actually listened to a really cool talk today about Tibetan Buddhist thinkers who are dealing with new advances in medical sciences and trying to figure out how to negotiate their understanding of traditional tantric body forces with increasing medical knowledge. Okay, I was right. So he did have days. We were not going to pay anything to prevent that. We forced him to spend a days and spend a turn and take one from the land there. And he could not use the land for a brainstorm, or he chose not to. So I'm okay with what just happened. His deck is a little bit slower than a lot of fish decks because it eschews some of the ramp and noble hierarch. That's what you notice here. There's no noble hierarch for additional removal slots and counterspell slots and card selection slots, which is an interesting decision. I think noble hierarch gives up something in the artifact matchups, but he's got so many advantage engines, and the Pyroclasms are really clever. I'm curious what his plan is, but this tells me he's going to have a swords That's unfortunate what we just drew there. I actually am kind of interested in playing a Misty and finding a Bayou. That exposes me to LD, but that's okay with me. I'm going to see if I can land this. This gives us 4 next turn. Stomping Ground is just horrible right here. And I want to thin out our deck so I don't draw land next turn. This guy's going to get Swords, I think. He didn't misstep it, which leads me to believe he doesn't have a misstep because he would have used it. But he also didn't Swords at end of turn, so there's that too. Right off the bat, we can punish him for days or ramp. Either one is good. Anytime I have a chance to punish him with leftover black mana, which is hard to come by in my deck, I will. He's obviously scared of Magus, which means he's not optimizing his mana base. That's okay with me. Well, this is definitely going to name Deathrite then. So Deathrite will no longer serve as a mana source because none of these are mana abilities since the Exile ability goes in the stack. And Pithing Needle can definitely name it. I hope he doesn't realize that, but I don't think he would name anything besides the Deathrite that's already on the board. Essentially, this is like a slightly worse Swords to Plowshares that makes my Deathrites worse, and now we really don't want to draw a Deathrite. So he could be saving his Swords, which would make a lot of sense. At least we can attack and block with this little gentleman, which is worth noting. And we just drew another land. That's really bad, but that's probably the best land we could draw, admittedly. So I'll be attacking with this guy, and we'll be playing the Stomping Grounds tapped, which is one of the sadder plays I could imagine. And he could still have Swords. I would really like to draw another creature for him to Swords to eat up his potential removal. Notably, he did not search for a Valk Isle, which could mean he's not holding Pyroclasm. Though, that could be what he's going to do with this Misty. I'm extra talkative with that Stella Artois in my tummy. So what's he doing? He could play a Jace next turn. Jace isn't extraordinary, except that it would keep my Colonian Hydra from being awesome. Alright, go to 16, that's fine. With all those fetch lands, it's like my Deathrites attacked twice, 4 times? This could be a Trigon. Trigon would suck, because it's just a 2-3. Kasali Pride Mage would also suck, because that's a 2-2. Alright, that guy's going to be a problem, just because he walls off everything. Keeping this blue open, what does that mean? Could be Brainstorm. Now there's Kazul. We can only leave one of these gentlemen uncounterable, unfortunately. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I'm going to lay down the Misty here to give me maximum flexibility. And I don't think we're going to be killing that Pithing Needle because I removed all my artifact removal. It's probably okay. Like, this isn't the end of the world. I probably wouldn't find something with a Fauna Shaman to kill this instead of win the game a different way. Just pointing that out. I could find a Stomping Ground with a Misty to avoid having to draw that land, but probably won't do that. Could find a basic in case I play a Magus. That's a possibility. I've already got this basic, and I could find another one here. But if I rip a Magus of the Moon, I would really have rather found a basic forest here. So that's probably what I'll do. And then that sets me up for playing an uncounterable Kazul or Colonian Hydra. Both block his Pride Mage almost indefinitely. I actually wonder if Kazul is more valuable to have on the table right now. But my suspicion is he's going to have... Whatever I play next turn, I have to worry about days a little bit. So I want that to be uncounterable. And the more flyers he has, the worse Kazul is. And I think he's going to Swords whatever happens. I'm keeping this guy around for now. He could attack too later. Or block when something's a little bit more important to block. This might just be a Delver. Nope, looks like it's going to be Trigon. Okay. So, I actually am worried most about Jace right now. We're going to crack this. Yeah, we'll crack this and find a forest, because I don't want to draw a forest. Rurikthar. Now that's a warrior. That gives me a second warrior. So we're going to name warrior. That's really funny. Red. Yeah, let's make a Kazul. This could get swords. That's okay. It could get bounced with a Jace. That's less okay. Note that this guy's not very good when he's flying over, but it should still punish him to make dudes. So he's going to have to answer this. My guess is Jace is going to come down and it's going to be very hard for me to deal with all my expensive creatures and his ability to block. So I'm going to tight clock with this guy. Jace can only last so many turns, but then he can play another one. Nope, this isn't Jace, because he would have definitely played a land. This is probably a swords. Yeah. So that's okay. We just gained 5 life. That bought us some extra time. He's probably still holding a force, though. I think if he'd had Jace, he would have played a Jace there and attacked for 3 in the air. At least makes sense to me. Another Pride Mage just hurts, though, because now I get hit for 4. Yeah, that's rough. And he can keep all his guys black and back, not black, and Rurikthar can run into them and trade for 2 of the 3. That would probably be okay. Wow, that's nuts. So that's immune to swords. I wonder if that means I try to find... This becomes a 4/5 when it attacks. I wonder if this means I try to find... to play Colonian Hydra to bait out a counterspell here. I think that's the right play. So now he's going to force this. Or let it get through. That's fine too. The debate has to be whether to use the last 2 cards in his hand to force this. Yeah. So he forced pitching force. If he attacks with everything, I'm actually going to absorb 2 damage with his Deathrite. I don't think he'll do that, but then the next turn will be me dropping an uncounterable Rurikthar, and then the following turn will be me dropping a Giant Haste guy. Okay, so he's attacking the air for 4. Doesn't give me an opportunity to block. That's okay. So we just took a lot of damage. That's fine. Hopefully he doesn't play a Jace. We just don't want him to draw that. Wouldn't be the end of the world, because if he played a Jace, we could just Storm Breath it, but then we're taking a wall up on the return hit. Such would be life. So what do we not want to see him play? We don't want him to play a Jace. Snapcaster is kind of bad for us, I suppose. So if he has a Snapcaster, that sucks. Hopefully he just drew a land. That's interesting. This probably won't do anything for a little while. Though it is funny. Because Cavern is like kind of a nombo with it. We'll play our land. Why does this cost so much? What am I unclear on here? This costs 6, right? Red, green. I guess I just counted wrong? Okay. I may not want to crack that Wooded Foothills. So I'm dropping this. This means he takes a lot of damage if he plays anything. It's a non-creature. It's whenever a player, so if I cast the Summoning Trap, I take a wall up, but I should just kill him then. My one worry is that he's going to Snapcast Swords this, but that gains me 6 life and buys me a little bit more time with Storm Breath. Now, Storm Breath can be countered. But if this is off the board and then Storm Breath gets countered, I can Summoning Trap. I could even take 6 and Summoning Trap if the situation were calling for it. Yeah, he has to have drawn Snapcaster. That's exactly what's happening. So he's going to Swords Rurikthar, and we're going to gain 6 life, I think. Alright. That's fine. I think we're okay with that. Alright, so he goes to 6, I go to 18. Rurik Thar did kind of what he needed to do. Now we hope that he didn't draw Jace again. This was probably one of the best cards he could have drawn there, I think. Maybe not the best. We definitely block a snap here. Without a doubt. Alright. Now maybe that means he ripped a counter spell. I'm not sure. We drew another Deathrite. That's not extraordinary by any means. I think what we do first is we play this guy. And if he can't counter this, I think he's shit out of luck. We're going to take a wall up next turn, but this is then going to have to stay back. Yeah, and it's going to be monstrous then, which is funny. And drawing this was actually really good for us. I should have played this before combat in case he was going to misstep it. I could then Summoning Trap and maybe hit a haste guy. As it is, though, it turned out that wasn't relevant. And we can block a Pride Mage with this if necessary. But this guy's probably not going to get in because he has to keep it back to block the Storm Breath. It's too bad that they just removed daily events. I was looking forward to Storm Breathing some big creatures. Or attacking players or whatever. Yeah, so 2 of those guys are coming in. I think we're... Do we want to block here? Serious question, isn't it? You could, like, Swords it later or bounce it with a Jace. I think because of the possibility of a Jace, we want to keep this here. Yeah, we could also draw like Caldera Hellion. Yeah, let's pass. We'll take 4. Not sure if that's right. Might be. I'm not going to crack this because I may not want to crack that land at all. We don't want to draw land though. Okay, that's fine. That's a decent rip. So this turn we play this. No, we can't play this before combat. We have to threaten with a monstrosity, forcing him to block. We could attack with both, putting him at 4. I think that's probably the way to go. Yeah, because now we don't have to monstrous this. Alright, and then we make this fancy play. And if he counters it... And it doesn't look like he will be. Maybe we should have just Summoning Trapped instead. So now he's precluded from playing a Jace, unless he has Jace and Island. I think. That's good news. Yeah, so let's ship the turn. I could play this before combat next turn and look for a haster anyway. Whether it be Zealous Conscripts if I kept it in, or a Stormbreath Dragon. Could also be that he had a Pyroclasm in his hand, but that obviously doesn't save him at all. Okay, he's GGing. Nice playing with you, Jay. Alright, so, gentleman opponent, who's playing an interesting deck, with Forces and Jaces. It's a different build. And, we were able to show off some of our, cool fat dudes. Thank you all, for watching. And I will see you next round. since it's the only thing to watch now that isn't because there aren't any DEs.